Steve Colescott here for elitefts.com. I'm with the great Steve Goggins, who we're really pleased to have come up here, and he trained with a lot of the team yesterday, and you did a hell of a deadlift. Tell
Thanks,
people
Jay.
about that.
Well, I hadn't pulled heavy as far as max 100% in probably like 7-8 years, and just being motivated to come up here. The most I'd gone up to was, like I say, 750 in the gym, and so I wanted to try something pretty heavy. So I tried 800. It went pretty good. I was maybe a half an inch from lockout, but it felt real good. You know.
Yeah, I think you would have gotten white lights from probably 2 out of 3 judges on that.
Yeah, I think I felt pretty good. And somebody said down, but I was still actually pulling.
Mm-hmm.
I could add some more to move my hips through. So they thought I was finished, but I was actually still moving my hips through.
Okay.
I mean, I can hold it with that hook grip. I can hold that weight all day.
Okay. Can I ask your age?
I'm 49.
Okay. And you don't see too many people on the verge of 50 that have had a career as long as you that can still do that.
No, very few. They get kind of burnt out or just kind of injury bound and just get tired of it. They don't want to deal with the pain and suffering going through it. I mean, because you got to take care of your body, and it's a daily chore. I mean, I have some aches and pains, but I love the sport enough to where I want to continue to still do it.
Okay. Compared to other lifters that I've talked to that have had careers much shorter than yours, you have a lot less injuries. What are the worst injuries that you've encountered in your career?
Worst injury, I would say a pulled hamstring before.
That only slowed you down for a couple of months, right?
Yeah, a couple of months. I mean, nothing major, no blowouts or nothing like that. I mean, I have degenerative disc disease in my back and hip, just arthritis.
So you can only get an 800 deadlift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, exactly because of that. But other than that, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? That's just things that come with age and time.
Well, how do you think you've been able to make it that far? Is it just genetics, luck, or did you do something right?
I think it's probably a little bit of all of the above. I mean, because I do train when I do push some things pretty hard, even though I hadn't pushed my deadlift that hard, and, as far as on the floor. I mean, I do like to train pretty heavy and pretty hard all the time. So I would say knowing how to strain, knowing how to push, knowing when to back off, even on that particular day. I mean, I may not take that many deload days, but I know when that day comes, when I'm training heavy, I know if it don't feel good, I know to back off then.
Okay. We did a Q&A not too long ago, and Dave brought up a story he had with Jeremy Frey, and they were talking about how at a certain point, they tried to follow programs, and at a certain point he just knew what to do. He didn't need to ask people, he didn't need to think about it, he just knew his body well enough. Do you think that that's something, obviously you know what to do, your career is long enough, you've been at a high level. Do you think that's part of the reason you know when to push yourself, you know when to back off, that you've been able to be injury-free?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, you do it for as long as, like Jeremy has, I mean, as long as I have. I mean, you begin to, and when I first started off, I really never really had a coach. I just had somebody kind of advise me a little bit. So a lot of my learning was kind of picking up stuff from a lot of the powerlifters all around the world, getting basic tips here and there. So from that on forth, 10, 15, 20 years later, you just kind of develop it. So kind of like, get up out of bed, go wash your face. That's powerlifting is kind of that simple to me. It's pretty simple. You know what to do. You know when to do it. Sometimes it's kind of hard. It gets heavy. But you just go through stages, and as long as you just pay attention to your body, listen to your body, you should be all right.
Okay. Let's go back and tell us, how did you start training, and when did it go from just working out to powerlifting?
How did I start training? When I was 12 years old, I begged for a weight set from my mom. That's how it started. And she bought me one of these plastic weight sets with concrete weights inside of it. I mastered that where it was a 90-pound set. I mastered that where I would show off with it and lift it with one arm. as a kid. You know, I got pretty good at it. And then one year, I think it was the 10th grade year, they had a local YMCA meet in town, and I wanted to do that. So I decided to do that one. Man, it was from there. I just started training, basic training, learn stuff. But when the YMCA powerlifting contest came up, it's when I decided to, you know, let me put the 3 lifts in, you know, because I had originally seen it on, I think, ABC Wide World of Sports. Yeah. When I think it was Eddie Penley or whatever the guy's name was, he would come on, he had long hair, and he'd go, you know, he'd be screaming. And that really, you know, caught my eye. And I would watch that, and I watched some of the strongman stuff, or whatever they have on there. But it was pretty cool.
And how did you develop your training program?
It's probably just training with the guys I trained with, a couple of guys. It was just a basic program, and we just kind of, you know, you come in, you squat, you go with pyramid up, go as heavy as you could that day. Maybe do sets of 3, sets of 5s, depending on where you're at. Conditioning, maybe sets of 10s for conditioning to get in shape, and then kind of just you would kind of start, you know, 12, 13 weeks out for a meet, and kind of go 10, you know, 8, 5, 3s, 2s, dropping the reps down, pyramid down, and you know, going up in weight each week.
Did you have mentors? Were there people at the YMCA that were into powerlifting, or did you progress from there to another gym where you had some powerlifters to kind of?
Well, there were a couple of guys there, but they were not really any help to me because it was so far away from where I lived. So I basically I trained in my home, and I kind of like made stuff up and did it. So that beginning was really tough, but that was as a kid in high school training for football. I mean, I was basically training to try to get strong for football, and did one contest along the way. And then once I got out of high school, joined the military. In the military, then I was more or less started powerlifting there.
Okay.
And got on the Armed Forces team.
Okay. And who was on that team with you? There are some names.
On my team for the Army, the Armed Forces team, we had Gene Bell, Osby Alexander, Sylvester Anderson, guys like that. On my team, I had like O.D. Wilson. He's a big super heavyweight. Those are more well-known guys. Bobby Adams, some other guys are not as well-known. They were great powerlifters.
Were any of those guys stationed with you, or did you just meet up when there were meets?
We all met up. I had a few guys stationed in Fort Hood, Texas with me, but most of them didn't make the powerlifting team. It was only a couple of us that made it. But like O.D. Wilson, he was one of the biggest super heavyweights. He was a great super heavyweight. He died years back, but he was one of the great powerlifters of all time. And he lived different places. We'd all get together in, you know, a training camp, more or less, and train for the, you know, 1 week and see who's the best on the team. Then they send the team to the Armed Forces. I mean, and the way we train, I mean, everybody trained pretty much just a basic, you know, pyramid type routine. It was nothing fancy. It was more simple, you know, and just there wasn't any much deloading, you know, taking much time off. It was just because it was a pyramid up to the meet. After the meet, you have to go heavy. Then we dropped off. Yeah, took a little break.
Okay.
You know.
And when was it during your time in the Army that the competitions that you started doing competitions at a higher level?
Yeah, I mean, once I got in the Army, I was MC. I made all Army team. Next, we went to Armed Forces. I placed second to a guy named Robert Pittman. He beat me there. Then I went to then they sent us to the Junior National. I made the Junior National team, as far as the Armed Forces team to go to Junior Nationals. I went to Junior Nationals and I won that meet. That was my first national meet. And had like 15 people in my class, a total over 1,900 at 220. And I totaled like 2,039, and Robert Pittman totaled like 2,033 or something like that. So it was a great meet. It was my very first national meet was so competitive, almost as competitive as any meet I've ever been in. Okay. And just from there, I just progressed. I just wanted more. I just opened the door. I just want more and more.
Okay. You've you've probably competed in about as many federations as anyone on the planet, because
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the length of your career and federations come and go.
Right.
You did a lot of stuff. Was your earlier stuff USPF and IPF?
USPF, IPF, yes, I've been to IPF Worlds. I've been to APA meets before, APF. Pretty much you name it. I mean, pretty much all of them. I mean, WPO. I was in Hawaii back in the day. You know.
Okay, the record breakers.
Yep.
Okay, and what if you look back in your career? What are like some of the big meets, the things that you remember that you think are that you're most proud of, accomplishment wise?
I would say Hawaii meet. I had some great meets over there. I mean, it was the crowd, just the crowds it would have, and then when it came to the WPO, that was probably my most memorable one. And starting, I say the Junior National was my very first national meet because it was so competitive. That was one of my most competitive meets. That was great. And then Hawaii, I mean, because it was so, just the way Gus Ruthridge ran the meets, put it on. And then going back to, like I said, WPO. WPO was totally awesome. Just a new phase at the Arnold. I mean, we had, I don't know, 3,000 fans or more. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Really high production value,
Yeah.
the lights, the card girls.
Yeah, he went all out. It was
Yeah.
everything. He had everything.
And at the WPO, you had 4 championships there, 2 heavyweight, 2 super heavyweight.
Yep.
And who did you go up, and what kind of numbers did you get at those?
I went up against Gary Frank, Andy Bolton, all the super heavyweights, all the big guys from West Side. Back then, I'm trying to remember it. I mean, at my first years,
You had some of those guys bombed out, which
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah,
You're
a lot
a
of
little
them-
more consistent in your
Exactly.
planning, and
Exactly. I made some bad choices. I beat Andy on bodyweight in the 2003 one. Early years, I had the 2481 was my total at 242. I hit like a 1,045 squat, 600 bench, and a 871 deadlift. And it was usually always variable back and forth. And then when I went super heavy, I weighed about 259, 260 something. My best squat was 1102. Best bench was like 573 back then, because I never mastered the shirt. That was my biggest problem. And deadlift 881.
okay. And tell us a little bit about that 1,100-pound squat. What was that like? Did you have that plan going into the meet, or were you just feeling good that day?
Well, my original plan was to break Brent Meixell's world record squat, which was 1074 or something at the time. I think I went in the squat 1075, 1076, and I opened with 1,000. My plan was to go 1076, break that, just get that record. If I need to take 2 attempts, I'll take it. And then from that point on, I just wanted to see what I had left.
Okay.
And so, I mean, my hip was hurting after I finished at 1075, and I had to get my massage therapist to work it out pretty good. She did a real good job, and I laid there a little bit, kind of thinking, I said, well, you know, I already put 1,100 in. And so it wasn't really a plan, but I felt really relaxed, and I didn't feel any pressure because I already broke the world record. But then it occurred to me that at the time Brent was having a bad day, Meixell was, which, I mean, I felt bad for him because he was really upset. He had a terrible day. I think he had a misload in weight or something, and he just couldn't come back to overcome it. And to have the opportunity to be the first to squat 1,100 was pretty cool. So when the chance came, I mean, I had no pressure. It was, you know, because the way I felt that day is I felt that I was going to have a hard time beating. I really felt that day that I would have a hard time beating Andy Bolton and Gary Frank, no super heavies, because I felt they had the advantage with their benches. And I know Gary and Andy had those big pulls, you know. So
Did he bomb on the bench on that one?
I think Gary bombed on the bench, bummed out. And Andy lifted pretty good. It just he didn't quite pull enough to beat me. And it worked out pretty good. But the 1,100, it was awesome. It was a great day. It was incredible. I mean, once I hit it, I mean, I think it was more incredible for the fans and the people around than I really realized what it was myself at the time.
You know, getting a world record, obviously that's something few people can can ever accomplish.
Right.
But it's hard to name all the people that have had world records. They climb,
Right.
and it might be a 2-pound increase, but
Right,
1100. That's something that people remember. That your name is kind of attached with the 1100-pound, first to do 1100-pound squat. So that, do you think that looking back, that you're glad you did that second attempt, or that on your third, I should say? Oh,
most definitely. I mean, I'm very proud of that. I'm truly proud of it. I mean, I have no doubt. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind. I mean, if I could walk to the bar, if I get to the bar, I was going to take the attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, whether I got up or not. So I already knew in my mind I was going to give it a shot. And there was no quitting, and I was going to push as hard as I could, take it as deep where I was supposed to, and then from that point on, just give it what I had. And that's what I did. I gave it all I had. Back at that time, when I lifted, it was a point in my career where I felt, during the WPO days, I was almost unconscious, to where I didn't let anything affect my mind, my psyche. I mean, nothing. I was just cool, and I had a kind of ego to myself on the platform. I felt I was one of the best, and I felt that there was no stopping. I could lift whatever. If I chose it, I could lift it. And I just think sometimes guys miss that in the sport. You got to be very confident. So I was so confident that I didn't feel any problem, any worries.
And you have kind of a unique squat form, where some people say, like, at the bottom, it's almost like your chest is on your sitting in your lap.
Right.
How did that develop? Is that just?
When I was younger, I tried to correct it. I tried to squat upright. It's just the way my hips and my lower back is, and my body's made. It just I cannot sit upright squatting. I've tried to do it different ways, tried to change different things, tried to squat high bar. I just cannot stay upright. It's kind of like a Dave Shaw. He used to squat the same way. A good friend of mine I just recently made Kimberly Walford. She's like a world-class women's powerlifter. Squats like mid-threes raw at 130-some pounds. Squats exactly like me, and has a super deadlift, can pull over 500 pounds. So I mean, that form, if you squat like that, you're gonna have a strong lower back.
Yeah.
But it's just something it's just natural. It's the way I'm built, and you just
It's hard to say it's wrong when you're first to.
I would love to be able to squat upright, straight up, because as I'm older, now it's a problem with it causes a problem because I got a hip problem, so it causes a problem trying to break depth. So I have to try to go. It's me going as deep as I can go to break depth. When a normal lifter can go down and go, it's barely, have to bend. I was trying to think of some guys who do that, but it's tough.
Looking back in your career, what is your favorite thing about powerlifting?
Favorite thing about powerlifting, I would say, is meeting people, meeting the other powerlifters and people in the sport, the camaraderie, the way other people feel about it. I mean, you feel good when you meet somebody else that has the same ideas and goals, and wants to train, wants to be strong, wants to be big. I mean, that's just the best part of it. That's that I can think of. I mean, there's no better feeling than just having other people around that wants to do the same thing you do and understand it, and enjoy it.
Okay. There's a famous saying that you should never meet your hero because they'll always be disappointed. But
Right.
You're a champion, and
Thanks,
I think
Steve.
a lot
I
of people
appreciate
that have encountered you, everyone goes away better for it.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you.